Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey guys, I'm Nariman Hamden, and this is Driven, Unscripted Success podcast. Follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. We've got an awesome guest on. We have Dr. Nkema, and she's been in the healthcare industry. She's a doctor for over 10 years. She is highly accomplished emergency medicine physician at TriStar Skyline Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Alongside her medical career, she is the founder and CEO of Phoenix Capital Investments, a thriving multifamily real estate investment firm that Dr. Nkema's journey in real estate began as a passive investor. She quickly transitioned into an active role in acquiring large apartment complexes. How are you doing, Doctor?
Wonderful. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time. I know you're at a conference right now in Tennessee.
No, Washington, D.C.
Okay. So I know we're going to see a lot of people walking back and forth, but I appreciate you taking the time out of your conference to come and speak with us. So why don't we start off with, why don't you give us a quick snapshot of your business right now, what you do and what your company does?
Okay, great. So again, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. So I'll just talk about Phoenix. I was a passive investor, just like I said, and sorry about the background noise, I'm right by the wharf, but passive investor, investing in real estate. And then I noticed that there was a need, and it was a need for healthcare professionals to kind of, one, have access in the space because we have resources, but also figure out exactly how to navigate the space and then build wealth at the end of the day, right? Because that's what we all want, and diversification. And so I started investing, and then I kind of just polled people and I said, we're missing in this space. There is lack of education, lack of access. Maybe we could do it together. And the response was phenomenal. We started buying apartment complexes really with the help of a team, but really focused in the Southeast and buying apartment complexes as a way to grow passive income with the idea, again, diversify and grow wealth. So we have Phoenix Capital Investments. We're in the Southeast. So we buy in Georgia, Carolinas, Tennessee, and we just buy, apartments that maybe could use some work. We improve it, increase rent, make sure tenants are good, investors make money. And that's kind of the name of the game. So excited to be here, excited to have really built something, knowing that, knowing the people who I'm serving, both the tenants and the investors.
Sure, yeah. And I'm sure, I've noticed a lot of professionals, especially doctors, in the medical industry, they make a lot of money, but they're working grueling hours, and then they're getting taxed on it left and right, and not understanding the potential of passive income, and investing in that and seeing those double-digit returns on their investment, not to mention the depreciation and all that good stuff. So I'm glad you figured that out to be able to bring that to them and help them, where you can help them out on their taxes, 100%, and especially being doctors with the amount, their salary that they're bringing in.
I agree 100%. I'll just touch on that real quickly. Sure. A lot of people, a lot of us physicians, healthcare professionals, really, all we do is, like you said, our 9 to 5, right? But then there is life outside of that. It could look different for different people, but you're right. One of the things, when I talk to healthcare professionals, when I talk to physicians, when I talk to high net worth investors, the idea is always one of the struggles are taxes. And so it's like, well, how can we alleviate some of that tax burden, right? And it's investing in real estate, because you said it can get all assets in a really amazing way to save taxes as you think about growing, think about acquiring, as you think about your network. You at the end of the day, you want to keep as much as you make, and so this is a great way to do it. So I would say medical school is hard. Medical school is very difficult. Residency was even harder. And the reason why residency is difficult is because our lives are in our hands. And so there's a lot to learn, right? And so I came out of, after done my residency and started working as a full-fledged physician. And I thought, that was going to be all I would do in my life. And one of the turning points for me was we got bought over by a private equity firm, and the way medicine started to change, right? So it became more of the business of medicine, and I just started to see gaps and holes in how in the medicine that was built to me when I was a little girl and always wanting to be a doctor, right? And so I almost started to think about taking it into my own hands, and what that looked like is, how can I, we work hard and what we do is amazing, but like, how can I think bigger, right? How can we think about wealth generation, not just for me, but for my family and my future, like years and years to come, decades. How do I think about that? And so that was a big turning point for me, was when I decided that I could not rely, I didn't have job security. That was when I came to that understanding, right? That our jobs could easily be taken away from us. It became about hours, they were firing us. And I said, you know what, let me look outside. And the one thing I would say that was our detriment is that we know how to do medicine, but we don't know how to do anything else. So we don't know anything about finance. We don't know anything about starting businesses. We just don't know. And so when I noticed and realized that, right, my heart was, how can I figure this thing out for me? How can I figure it out for people who are like me, who are in the same struggle? I think that was a pivotal moment for me. And I know ever since then, right, there's been no looking back, because I realized that maybe I struck gold in that this was truly a need, that we were looking for the right person to help serve, to help fix, to help galvanize us to come together and figure out a way to solve the problem.
Sure, absolutely. So how do you deal with taking risks? Is there a time when rolling the dice really worked out for you?
So as expected, or maybe not as expected, at the end of the day, I'm a doctor, and that's who I am at heart, right? That's all I've known. And so I'm a lot more risk averse. I used to be a lot more risk averse. And but when the rubber met the road, right? When I had to make a decision and I had to think about my future, and what I was doing right now wasn't working, right? This is what I thought. And this is how I make decisions that are a little bit more risky, right? I do my due diligence. You just have to, especially because we work hard for every dime that we make. And so like, you really have to understand, while you're even thinking about taking a risk, right? And leaping. And so with that, that's the caveat. Like I will never take a risk blindly and just jump. It's just not me. But when I got to the point that I knew that this decision was probably going to be one of the most pivotal decisions in my life, I wasn't afraid to take the risk. And I'm learning now. I'll share this because there might be someone here who's listening to this. It's okay to be afraid. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's with humans. And when you want to make big decisions and when you want to impact and change lives, it's okay to be afraid. But what you do with that fear is maybe at the point of fear and risk taking, right? And so if you feel the fear and you go and you do it anyways, with the right amount of knowledge, with the right amount of due diligence, with the right amount of support, right, you can then leap. And I feel very comfortable doing that, right? I feel very comfortable trusting my instinct, knowing that I've done the work, right? And it's bigger for me. I'll tell you why. Because a lot of my investors are healthcare professionals, but a lot of my investors trust me, right? Again, I told you in the beginning that like we don't know a lot about finance. We don't know a lot about real estate investing, right? So they don't know a lot about it, right? But they truly trust me. And they say, like, I'm investing in you. I'm going to test this out. I'm going to put money behind this because of who you are, right? And so it's on me to make sure that I've done the work, right? It's on me to make sure that I'm not taking like unnecessary risks, but everything that I do, there's thought and there's effort and there's learning and there's, structure behind it. But at the right time, I'm not afraid to take a risk. This is the reason why. And I'll land with this, right? If I take a risk and I make a mistake, right? Without a shadow of a doubt, I can tell you that I felt very comfortable. I did the research that backed me, and I was able to make that decision with confidence. If it's a wrong decision, it is okay because I will learn from that. But I still did that. I still took that risk. I still leapt. I still made that decision. And it's from there that like I show that to my investors and they're aware of it.
Absolutely. So everyone hits a bump in the road every now and then. Can you share a time things didn't pan out and how you got through it?
So when I first started building Phoenix, right, I thought I knew building a business would be difficult. I just didn't know how hard it would be.
Sure.
And so, in the beginning, I always thought, and I was raised that like hard work pays off, and it does, right? But there were some times that I was facing bumps in the road that I could not understand why. And so in the beginning, right, I got the amount of no's that I've heard
Oh,
in this
yeah.
like small life of mine is tremendous. And so at some point, right, I thought, is this for me? Should I keep going? There's not a lot of people that look like me in this space. And I'm at a conference right now that statement is very glaring, right? And so for me, for everyone who looks like me in the same field, kind of trying to pave a way, I had to be that person, right? So I had to push through. So even when, the no's came, when, I would say, hey, come invest with me, let's buy this $1 million property, right? The answers were always no, but I saw the vision. And this is something that I have learned and I've held on to. I saw the vision. I saw the goal. I was able to see past this adversity that was happening to me right now. And so I would say that's what's gotten me through. So every step of the way, right, there's been bumps along the way, and it's small things like I wasn't included, right? I would put a bid and I never even heard if I won, if I lost, nothing. It was just like
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where I just felt like I was being ignored, and that's because and every day I had to tell myself, if you take yourself seriously, they will take you seriously too. And that's the one thing that I would say to anyone who's like thinking about starting, whether it's real estate, whether it's some sort of entrepreneurial journey, whether it's a side gig, whatever, or even going up in your career, right? If that's what you want to do, there will be challenges. There will be people who don't see your value, your worth, but you have to keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sure you're finding being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's a roller coaster,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of planning. It's a lot of time management.
Yep.
It's a big factor is networking, and especially in being a general partner.
Yep.
It's a lot of
Yep.
networking, and you have to earn that respect and trust from the limited partners
Yep.
that you're trying to bring in as your
Yep.
investors to become limited partners, actually.
Yep.
That's their money, that's their livelihood, that's their
I
families,
agree. I
kids'
agree.
college tuition, and
I agree.
vacation money, whatever it is, retirement. And it's like, if you're not doing your due diligence, and being extremely cautious
Yeah.
and being extremely conservative, and then they're not going to be interested.
I agree.
I mean, money is money, and everybody's going to be like, scared to give their money up to somebody that, starting out or whatnot. But I mean, like you said, I mean, you've got the drive and the perseverance, and, you are a doctor, so you're a colleague in there. So you found a good niche to find your investors. So that's nice. And good for them, because they have somebody that's just like them, who was just a doctor, not just a doctor, but you know what I mean by when I say
Yes.
that,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
not on that entrepreneurial side,
Yes.
so that's awesome. Well done. So what's a skill or habit you think doesn't get enough credit for contributing to your success?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I will say, um, maybe I'll chicken out and say an easy answer, but resilience. And it's that notion that you will never give up, that I will never give up. And so even if it's hard, a lot of my podcasts are usually in my office, right? When I'm back home. And that office has seen more tears than I will care to admit. But it is okay, right? You cry it out, wipe your tears, and you keep going, right? And so and I will say that it is that no giving up attitude, is that you show up no matter what. Like you keep showing up. the no, you keep hearing no, but that's like, no, that no is just getting you closer to your yes, right? To whatever that yes is. And so you have to keep going. So I would say that is a habit. It's just to be resilient, no matter what. You wake up every day. I have a poster on my wall that says, what did you do today that got you closer to your goal? And so it's every day you make that decision that like, I will show up, I will work hard, I will do the thing that I need to do, because now, especially for me, right? It's not just me anymore. Like my investors are behind me, and they're, I'm doing this for them. So I show up every meeting, every broker call, every LOI submission, every asset management call, all of it, right? I show up there knowing that like it's not just me anymore, but it's like my entire team is behind me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, leading a team has its challenges. Speaking of teams, what's your leadership style? And can you give us an example of how it helped you through a tough spot?
Oh, so I would say, I think my leadership style is I will give you what you need, and then I will throw you to the wolves. And this is the thing, right? And that's because you have to sink or swim. And I'm the type of leader that I will give you, again, I'll give you the resources. What you do with it is up to you. Now, I'm not going to let you fail, but when you can figure out a solution and an answer by yourself, right? When you have thought through various scenarios, various ideas, when you're able to create that by yourself, right? The result is long lasting. And so, and I might have the answer, right? But my answer, I'm learning that my answer is not always the right answer. And this is very hard. This is a humbling fact that I've come to learn, that I don't always have to, I might think I have the right answer, but I'm looking for someone to challenge that, to think differently, to help me grow, to help us grow. Because if you do that well, we are all winning. So I would say that is my style. It's I give you what you need, I give you the resources, and then I let you go and I let you fly sooner than you'll probably feel like you're comfortable doing. And I've heard from my younger team members, I've heard that's a very positive. I've heard positive feedback about that. That, even when I didn't know, you let me go, you let me make a mistake, you held my hand, you watched closely, but you let me test and try and do things on my own. And so I'm very proud of that. And I think that we are a scrappy bunch, but we get the job done.
That's fantastic. And it is, sometimes that is the best way to lead, a lot of times is because once you give somebody the tools, if they're, capable of understanding how to use those tools, and they'll be able to implement it in what they need to do, so I totally agree with you on that. So when you're building your dream team, what's the one trait you always look for and why?
Tenacity. It's the one trait that I look for. And so it's a combination of tenacity and creativity. I think if you have those two traits, we can accomplish anything. And the reason why is because, again, it's the resilience and the tenacity. It's because it's what has helped me get this far. And you have to be hungry, right? You have to be starving to want to make a change. Because when you are tenacious and you're hungry, right, then the no's are just like, okay, how can we get around that? Like, that's just a speed bump in the road. I think that's the most important thing. And I think that when you have team members who have that innate, it's an innate skill, it's an innate like drive. I think that is such a beautiful, along those lines, I feel like it's like the gamut of like drive, tenacity, resilience, hunger. I think that if you have that in someone, and I don't think you can, I'm not sure that you can teach that. As much as maybe it pains me to say that, because there's some people that I've hoped for. I don't know that you can teach that. I truly think it might be innate. There's skills you can definitely teach, but like this hunger and drive to want to be better, do better, I think it comes naturally. And then creativity is just how to think outside the box. Where we are, the likes of the Elon Musk and the Jeff Bezos and the people and the Steve Jobs, they had this just like beautiful creativity of seeing the world differently and feeling like, what else can I do? How else can I toe the line? Like, what else can I do differently? How can I make a square into like a rhomboid? Whatever it is, right? That idea, I think it's something that I'm always looking for.
Sure, absolutely. And I agree with that. You know what? You can't teach tenacity. It's either It's either you have it or you don't. You're wired that way, and you're just that very curious person where your mind is just constantly curious and wants to solve problems and figure things out and learn new things and just fly. You know what I mean? And that's okay that everybody's in like that, because the world, it'd be a crazy world if everybody
Too much.
had tenacity, be a bunch of maniacs running around. I mean, it's too much. So it's nice to have, a little bit of everything. But yeah, I mean, and you have to be a glutton for pain to be an entrepreneur, because there's a lot of rejection. I mean, the amount of no's you get on submitting those LOIs is absurd. And at a point you're like, gosh, is that another no? And you're like, whatever, I'm just gonna keep going, and it becomes this like sniper mind game, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I guess we're gluttons for pain, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's just the way
I wouldn't either.
madness works.
You get it. You get it. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm laughing because I resonate.
Yeah, because that one yes you get, just that's all that counts. It's like, yes.
Yes.
What? I had 200 no's. I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
It's like you get that one yes, and it just fixes everything. And then it
Yes.
just pushes you to this other, catapults you to another level of psychoness, to go after and do. But it's fun. So when you're building your dream team, what's the one trait you always look for and why? Oh, we just did that one. I'm sorry.
We just did that one.
Sorry, I got caught up in it. How do you encourage your team to think outside the box and bring new ideas to the table?
Okay, I think this I do well. There's a bunch of things I think I could be a little too harsh on my team, but the one thing that I do is that I tell them stories, and I share every experience with them. So at the beginning of every meeting, right, we talk about the best. And we talk about the highs in our personal lives and our professional lives, right? And that's something that, and so any story, right? I put out a post on LinkedIn, and I got a call from an investor, physician investor. He was, and the story, the sentiment was, I resonate with you. I want to link arms with you. I want to invest in your deal, right? I share that with them, right? So I always share what's possible. Every win, no matter how small it is, the first people that I tell that back to is my team, because I want them to see, because they're involved and they hear all the no's, right? So they see all the no's, they see all the emails. And so every yes, I make sure that they're the first people to know, because then it helps us dream and know what's possible, and know that we can reach for the sky, and know we can touch the moon, right? And so those little wins, I'm always quick to share them, so that the hard work pays off, right? It's so sometimes, because sometimes we are in the grind, and it's like, okay, did we do this? Have we launched this? What's this? Like, where are we doing, with this? And sometimes it can be hard. And so when they can share in the spoil, when they can share in the wins and see it, sometimes I get to see it, because I also know this is my baby, this is what I'm building, right? But when they get to be a part of that, I think it lights a spark in them, and it makes them want to keep going.
Absolutely. So, being a doctor and a real estate investor and professional, what's a day in your life look like, and how do you juggle work and everything else? So curious.
Okay, I have help. So that's the one thing I'll say. I don't do it alone. From even when I didn't have much, right? Or when I started, I immediately got help. So first I started with a virtual assistant, and then I built from that, right? And I just started, because I know that where I want to go, where we want to go, this is not a one-woman show. So that was the first thing I did. So I want to preface that I'm not doing this alone. You see me, but there's a huge team behind me that's helping me. A day in my life looks like, I wake up. So it depends, right? I still work clinically. And so the days that I work, those are the days that I work. And the days that I work, the hours are kind of crazy. So I could work 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 10 p.m. Anytime in the day, I can be at work, because I work in the emergency room. So those days they're kind of set in stone. But the other days, right, I wake up on Mondays specifically. Mondays are team meeting days. So that means I meet with every single one of my team members on Monday individually. The goal of that meeting is to make sure that I'm in line with where you are. How are you meeting your goals? Where are you in terms of your quarterly goal, your yearly goal? What are you doing on a daily basis to move you closer to that? And then kind of get through any little thing that, like, if there's any concern, where they are. So that is checks and balances, because then I know that, like, we're meeting our goals together. So that's morning. In afternoons, I have asset management calls on our properties. So Mondays are kind of like heavy meeting days, and then Monday evenings we have whole team meetings. So Monday kind of is in between that, because it's a heavy day for me. It's a lot of meetings, but the rest of the week, right, I block out time in the day for deep work. In between all of those, right, investors, I have about 20 to 25 calls with investors every week, and so that just gets fit into my schedule. However, but no matter what, in the middle of the day, I have 2 hours of deep work. And that looks like time for creativity. That looks like time to think. That looks like maybe if I'm building a course, I set that time aside to create, to think, maybe to record. So a lot of that time in reading. So I am on this goal right now. I want to read memoirs and autobiographies of the people that changed this world. So like I just finished Shoe Dog, the story of Nike and how he grew up. So that time I'll also spend some of that time reading. That's important to me as well. So that's kind of what my day looks like. It's a ton of, and then twice a week I go through underwritings. So I look through like all our upcoming deals that we're doing with my acquisition associate. So that's also what days look like. So the days are pretty full. Tons of meetings, tons of time where I set aside to do the work that needs to do to move me forward. And in between that is investor calls. I spend most of my time. We're not big enough yet to hire an investor relations person who deals with investors. So since that is my strength, and a lot of investors are new first-time investors investing in real estate, so they want to talk to me. So a lot of my time is also spent doing that.
So you're not busy at all, is what you're saying?
No. I'm just like just a little bit, just a smidge.
Yeah, just a little bit. So has there been a book, a podcast, or someone that's really changed your outlook or approach?
A book or podcast?
Book, a podcast, or somebody.
So
or
I will say that I just finished reading Shoe Dog last week, and you're gonna laugh. And I'm going to be vulnerable and say this. Towards the end of the book, I started crying. And this is the reason why. And I pulled out my journal and I started journaling. But if you read, the book is about, and I don't know kind of all the, he talks about some of the things that they didn't do well, like how they were accused of like just inappropriate labor and how they used people outside of the country to build shoes, right? So he talks about that. But he also leaned into his mindset and the type of person that he had to be in order to build this billion-dollar company. When he had no money, right? When he had zero, he wasn't paying himself. He would borrow, buy shoes, sell, borrow, buy shoes, sell. But he knew that he was building something beautiful and something big, and he was able to inspire others to do the same thing. He also had a ragtag team to start up with. And so just being able to lean into that, to understand the mindset of the people of creators, of builders, of entrepreneurs who have changed the world, to be able to understand that mindset is so encouraging to me, right? Because not everybody will ever understand some of like our heart's desire, the desire to want to build something, to want to start something on your own, the desire to want to build a team and lead and like change the pace of whatever it is that you're going after, your goal, your passion. And so to be able to do that, but also to learn from others who have done that, I think it's very inspiring. And I'll tell you another book. One of my all-time favorite books is The Alchemist. And The Alchemist is again about figuring out your true legend, right? Figuring out your own legend. That's the thing, your purpose, what you're called to do, the difference you're called to make, and you going all in on that. So that's a book that like, if I talk to someone, maybe a young person who's starting out and who's trying to figure out their purpose in life, where they're going, what they want to do, it's a book that I suggest because I think it just helps you answer the question, and also helps you realize like how hard you need to push to get that answer. So those are two books.
That's great. Yeah, I'm familiar with The Alchemist, a great book, great story. So how do you tackle learning new things, especially stuff that's way outside of your comfort zone?
You just do it. Honestly, you just do it. And I don't know how else to tell you, but I'll tell you right now, right? I just watched the Alex Hormozy, his book release, his third book, $100 million models, money models, $100 million money models. I just read that. And so there's a lot of concepts that he spoke about in that book. And so learning marketing, right? Learning digital marketing, it's so important in how you build today, right? It's different from how you built 10, 20 years ago, and the importance of social media and just like kind of how you show up. So learning that, right, is something new that I'm learning and I'm understanding and implementing into the business. But you don't have a choice. If you don't learn, you will fall behind. You know, even like the advent of AI, we're doing a webinar on like AI 101, how to use AI in building your personal brand and your business and real estate. You know, so I would say this, you just make it happen. There's no like fancy way to say, you build it into your schedule. So like my deep work time block, I just put it in there.
Sure. I mean, there's no shortcuts, essentially.
No.
Well, as we're wrapping up this interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have in the works for the next 6 to 12 months? What do you got going on?
Our goal is to just go all in and to acquire. That's our goal. So I think the market is changing, where we're already seeing it's more of a buyer's market. And so the right people who kind of sat on the sidelines and held onto capital a little bit are in a position to buy as things are getting maybe a little cheaper. Actually, not cheaper, but sellers are becoming more aware of the right prices to sell. So those of us, and interest rates, you know, like there might be another rate cut coming up in the next day or two. So just thinking through all of that is positioning ourselves to be at the right place, right time to start acquiring. But it's nothing fancy, but in the next kind of 6 to 12 months is just to double down, do the research, do market analysis, and acquire the right properties.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I enjoyed our conversation, getting to know you and hearing about all your endeavors. If someone wants to get a hold of you, how does someone get a hold of you?
That's not difficult. My name, if you just type in my name anywhere online, you'll find me. LinkedIn is kind of like one of the big platforms that I lean into. I think it's a wonderful platform. I've grown significantly. A lot of investors are born from LinkedIn. And so I would say, but you can also find me on all other social media platforms. Our website is www.phcinvest.com. So multiple ways to reach me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.